I have another question, and that is, why did the Dragon Lady become a good villainess when the World War II broke out? What was your thinking behind that?
Well, first of all, I imagine that this happened pretty much to people such as she, and this is often true, that she was at heart a patriot. She was really quite sincerely a patriot when it was against an outside person and the invader. The Japanese were well hated even then in China, of course. But then when it was over, she went back to her natural role, which was anybody's vulnerable. You know? The visiting fireman or the local boys or anybody else was her prey. But as long as the nation was at stake, she was a patriot. This happens very often. I remember a gangster series, the Guys and Dolls series. Can't think of the guy's name who wrote it.
Damon Runyon.
Damon Runyon. He did a story about a bunch of bad guys who had been exiled to Europe, like Lucky Luciano had been, except they were in Holland or someplace. Mm-hmm. And when the Germans started coming in, these guys became America's Yankee Doodle. And even though they'd been sent there and exiled by the American government, they used all their gangster tricks to foil these incoming Germans and spooked them all over the place on their way in.
Like Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca.
Very much so, yes. Exactly the same thing, except that he was more respectable than these guys. These were very much like the Luciano people.
Oh.
Bogart was, whatever he had done before, you remember he had been in the Spanish Revolution, and then the cop said, well, what side are you on? And he said, none of your business or something like that. Well, you knew.
What's your nationality?
You knew what they did.
Is that what you were referring to?
Well, remember Claude Rains when the Germans said that the miserable Americans, and Rains said, yes, I was with those miserable Americans in Berlin in 1918. And all this, now here are the bad guys suddenly becoming good guys by just a single line like that. You can imagine. Yeah. That's the beginning of a wonderful friendship. By the way, did anybody see the new Casablanca last night?
Yeah, we both did.
Did you?
No.
Shel thought it was
fairly
really mediocre, but I
didn't try to avoid it, I just forgot about it, Frank.
If that was their best shot, they're in big trouble.
Well, I don't see how they can possibly do this and get away with it. Well, there's a cult following that one film has.
Why they took a blonde actor, a blonde blue-eyed actor, and it looks like they even gave him brown contact lenses or something.
And a chestnut brown hair.
And chestnut brown hair, and his acting is like a piece of wood. He tried to restrain his ordinary exuberance and try to pass it off as a world weariness.
Yeah.
It just came across as very dull.
It's a good thing they didn't try to touch the Bergman note too. I guess this is supposed to have happened before the Bergman incident. From what I read about it, that they were going to do.
No, they had a nightclub singer who was the lead female interest, and she was killed in the end.
So the end of that ended.
In a very Milt Caniff type ending.
Oh, shucks.
She was running for the plane, and there was a hand reaching out the door to grab her, and the Germans were speeding alongside in the Jeep, and they machine gunned her before she was able to be pulled into the plane, and she died on the runway. Does that sound familiar?
That famous runway.
And hiding in the bushes watching was
Rick. Yeah, he couldn't do anything. He went back to fight again. I
remember that runway landing in Casablanca and the feeling that you had of coming down that runway and you see those signs coming up at you, Casablanca. That was really a fascinating feeling, and the place is just as interesting as it was in the film. But the people there, of course, knew nothing about it at all because American movies were not allowed in France, in French possessions.
Oh.
At that time, they are now, but they weren't then. I've told you about this, Shel. I don't know whether Tom knows or not. We went to a nightclub in Casablanca, Billy and I, And we went in this place, and it was very, not like Rick's place, but it was a nightclub in Casablanca. And over there at the piano was a black man playing the piano. I said, oh man, this is too much. And so he didn't speak or anything, so I sent a note over to the waiter asking him to play
As
time goes by. And the waiter came back and says, he doesn't know it. And I thought, this is ridiculous. How come he doesn't know it? And then I found out why. He was a young kid, and American films had just been barred in all the French possessions at that time. Up until then, the kid had never heard it. He just never had heard it, let alone know it. So.
Well, Scatman Struthers played Sam on that.
Yes, I got
You
it.
heard that, huh?
I read it.
Oh, you read it.
Billing.
Yeah. He did pretty good in that.
He did, yeah.
Of course, he knew what his job was.
Yeah.
Julie Williams.
No, wasn't Ingrid Bergman a neighbor of yours at one time?
Yeah, as Willie says, Pia, that beautiful daughter of hers,
Yes.
she was doing a news broadcast in New York, and still is. She's writing and doing television there. She's lovely now. And Willie said, I changed her daddies. They lived next door. She lived in Burgess Meredith's house, and it was a very low time in her life. The kid had been born, and all the stuff about the divorce and everything had happened. And so she was really stranded there, and that's when Willie pitched in and changed the baby's daddy.
I'll be darned. That's
And
great.
she used to walk the kid in the afternoon like now. I used to take my walks, and I'd see her on the road every day. And again, this awful loneliness. She really was literally at that time just shunned by everybody. And we went out of our way to be especially friendly, being neighbors and all that, you know, as if we'd never heard about
Rustling.
Rustling, and so on. And then later we got to know her better. But she, when she was doing Joan of Arc, she came out to the Anderson's house for a reading of the play. And Hesper, now, whom you know, was just a little girl at the time. And
Hesper is Maxwell Anderson's daughter,
yeah,
who's now a television writer.
yes,
Yeah.
you'll be seeing her Saturday for Bob. Tom, you know. When I say Bob, I used to work for a guy named Bob French.
Oh.
He was my boss on the Columbus Dispatch. Anyhow, Hesper sat on her lap. And we always kid Hesper about this now, you know. And by the way, she was gorgeous. This is after all the crap had happened, and she was pulling back into the prominence, and her life picked up again, as it should have. Ridiculous stuff, you know, this crazy business, and that's why we were especially careful to be nice to her. It was easy to be nice to her. She was a nice gal, but she was just shunned. And boy, when those people freeze you out, they can freeze you out.
Yeah. Well, she had played a nun in the Bells of St. Mary.
Yeah, twice. She was, no, I guess that was the only time.
Yeah. Tell me about Joan Crawford's reaction to her being the model for the Dragon Lady. Did she know it?
I had told her, the sequence was like this, that I had told her about it, but just verbally. We were doing something together, some charity thing. And she said, oh, that was fine. And when her birthday was coming up, it was the same date as Charlie Rouchon's. And so he had set up a dinner party, 21, because it was their mutual birthday. And
That's the 21 Club in New York?
yeah. And I'll show you the picture in a minute. You've seen it before, but Tom hasn't.
Yeah.
And so we went upstairs to Bob Crindler's office, and she knew something was up, but she didn't know what. She thought it was like a cake or something of that sort. Instead, we trotted out this drawing, and because she already knew about it, and because she was a comics fan, she really was, sincere comics fan. Powder her nose here. When I handed it to her, she cried. And seeing somebody like her that you'd seen cry 1,000 times as an actress, but just see those big tears come right out with no provocation, it was quite exciting. And I'll show you the picture in a minute.